Hello and welcome to Biblicia.com. It is November 8th, 2024, and Donald Trump is president-elect. I wanted to give some talk on politics because Christians need to talk about politics. I need to talk about politics. It is part of my faith. It is part of my belief in Jesus. It overlaps in 100 ways, and we should not be afraid to discuss politics. Let the political correct crowd do with it what they will. And so Christians need to be voting and talking and discussing openly in their families and with friends and in their pulpits and wherever they are the appropriate effect of our politics on our faith, on our lives, on the way that we live, everything else. So I was in the military. Many of you know, for about 22 years on active duty, about 26 years total in my life from 1998 to my retirement in 2023. I am free, therefore, to say some things now without fear of retribution, except maybe from the Department of Justice until not too long from now, that I wasn't free to say just a year ago at this time, just 2 years ago. Now, I got in a lot of trouble being on active duty. I served under 5 presidents, and under Donald Trump and under Joe Biden, my last 8 years or so, served under those two. And under Biden as president, when he was elected back in 2020, my life changed. I preached against Christians being able to vote for someone in the Democrat Party. Now, Christians can vote for Democrats, but I think that there's a problem here that we need to address sensitively and openly, in that politics and its overlap with the faith, we have to be careful. The two are not the same thing. My faith is not my politics. My politics is not my faith. My trust is not in the President of the United States for the salvation, certainly, of my soul, or for the protection of my family. And even for my nation, there is something where I can say I trust in Christ, unlike I can trust in anybody or in anything. And so we always need to be careful that politics doesn't become our religion, that we're more enamored with the words of the latest Who Nut on Who Said It, who or not is in the lead, in the know, in the now, than anything else. We need to be more seeking Christ, seeking His Word, seeking His truth than any candidate or ideology that comes our way. Now, there is a bad thing in the country to acknowledge. The blessings we want of God on this country aren't because we have Donald Trump soon coming back into the presidential seat. That's a good thing. So I voted for Donald Trump. Again, this would be the 3rd time that I voted for him. There are certainly other candidates I would prefer on the Christian side. I don't think Donald Trump is a Christian. I think that's pretty clear. Not knowing anybody's heart for certain, only knowing what comes out of their mouth and their life. The man has done some things that are really, really good and some things that are really bad. So surely mixed feelings about the man. But I have no doubt that he was the better option for this election. Like, not even close was Kamala Harris. And it seems that the majority of Americans agree with that. This was a stunning victory. But the blessings that we want as a people don't come just because of who's in the office. And Mr. Trump, though I respect him, is certainly not the embodiment of what we'd want to see in a president. Not entirely. That is for certain. About 6,000 babies will be put to death on the day that he takes the oath of office. Donald Trump has gone somewhat soft in his stance in this re-election bid on abortion. It's been well said by one teacher that I respect immensely that the Republican Party today is basically the Democrat Party of 20 years ago. As the culture continues to slide liberal, which is kind of the salmon going downstream in all of humanity, the only thing that changes that is God, His truth in a culture permeating. So, gay marriage, I mean, who's really speaking against homosexuality today in the Republican Party? Nobody. And the Democrats were, the Republicans were just 20 years ago. And now the Democrats have gone so far left that, you should be free to marry a Cocker Spaniel. And who's to say that it's wrong? And the Republicans are basically the Democrats of about 20 years ago saying, something like, we don't prefer it, but you're free to do it. I'd love to see a president that was opposed to it and wanted to make gay marriage something that was of the past, that we don't recognize it as marriage, because it's not. There's no such thing as a gay marriage. And so as the images or the issues were defeated, there's just a slide liberal. And the Republican Party has gone that way recently. And there's a thought I want to share on that. And then today in this video, I'm going to play a video for you here, show you a couple pictures, wrap it up. Just want to talk on election for a little bit. That the thing I wanted to share, if there is a bad preacher in a church, a wolf in sheep's clothing, the congregation over which he or she ministers, and if it's a she, that's a whole problem, period. It kind of goes to the whole Paula White thing as Donald Trump's spiritual advisor. It shows me again he has no idea who Jesus is, doesn't even know where to look for him. If you're going to Paula White for that, big issue. But if somebody's a bad preacher, yes, they're to blame. But the people that listen, the Bible says, are the ones that will not endure sound doctrine and heap up for themselves these false teachers. Now that's in the church. So in the church, when there's a bad pastor, a heretical speaker, the people are to blame. So you go down to Houston, Texas, to that really big church down there and hear that smiling fool talk every Sunday. It's the fact that 20,000 people show up to hear that smiling fool talk that the man is talking. And so while the teacher is to be corrected and addressed and rebuked, so are the congregants. So are the elders. So are the people that support that ministry. So if you're going there and preaching and teaching because it's really popular and it'll sell your books, well, you share in guilt for that. But my point is that it's not just the teacher that needs to be held accountable, but the congregation shares in the blame. I think that if Donald Trump could get his way tomorrow, there would be a federal ban on abortion. The conviction that he has on it doesn't seem to come from a Christian heart, but it comes from somewhere conservative enough that I think that's true. The simple fact that he hit the trifecta with Supreme Court justices, which is always out of the control of the president, I think almost always. But it just happened that he appointed 3 Supreme Court justices that have done a good thing in the only blow against the abortion death cult in our culture in its 50 years of existence. So 1973 to today, the existence of the horrible judicial activism of Roe v. Wade and that unconstitutional, illegal handing down of that corrupt Supreme Court team regarding the supposed 14th Amendment right to decriminalize women from aborting their kids. And so women are specially protected for homicide in our culture. As long as they're not this tall, they can't ride the ride of life. So babies, if you're this tall or lower, you can't get on this ride. Your mother can choose to abort you or not. That was never a good thing, obviously. And no ethical person is pro-choice. The only blow against that multi-billion-dollar death cult, whether you're talking a black community, Latino, white community, wherever these, modern-day altars to Molech exist, in sacrificing your children, not to false gods, but to the person you see in the mirror every day who needs a college degree and a nice car and an iPhone, they'll put them on the altar to that god and sacrifice them. The only blow against it, at least major, was with the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's a very good thing, and that was just under Donald Trump as a result of who he appointed to the Supreme Court. And so if there was no other reason primary for me to support the man's presidential place, that would be enough. It would be enough for me to support him, even though I can't get behind him 100%. Yep, been divorced. Yep, gone soft on some things. The reason I bring up the itching ears thing is that it seems to me, and if you look at the numbers in this election, that this bears it out, most of the quote-unquote conservative, quote, Republican, end quote, peoples don't want to do away with abortion. And so I think Donald Trump just says, look, I want to win, and I'm going to say whatever it takes to win. Yeah, that can be gaslighting me, that he supports family values and Christian values. I got it. But I kind of want a politician to lie to me. I want him or her to feel like they have to lie to me. If I'm a Christian, you have to be pro-life, or you're not going to get my vote. Now, if you behind closed doors aren't pro-life, but you'll do it to get my vote, well, that's not cool for you. But at least I want you to lie to me. You know, the Democrat Party, Kamala Harris, like openly, it's always a woman's right to choose, which of course is pure, gobbledygook. That is a wonderfully satanic advancement of the argument on the pro-death side. The right to choose what? It doesn't matter. No, the right to choose. And we know what that means, but it's just a horrible thing no matter what. That party didn't care to lie to me. But my point here is, it's the majority of my Republican voters who did the right thing here. This was an absolute sweep across the country. It's unprecedented. Kamala Harris got spanked, and I'm so glad she'll soon be unemployed. And I don't want to hear her speak again. And I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I'm going to play a video here for you in a moment from Donald Trump. A very good thing. I'm excited about it. I'm happy. I think it's going to be good for the economy. I think it's going to be good for the border. I think it's going to be good for things that matter to us all, whether you're black or white. If you're an American, these things matter. And so I can support Donald Trump in office. I wouldn't support him as an elder in my church. And I have to make that distinction. I have to. I'm an abolitionist on abortion. It's no more ethical or appropriate to have an abortion at 2 weeks than it is at 36 weeks. Or 10 weeks, or whatever. It's no more ethical. It's no more acceptable to me. Abortion doesn't need to just be ended. It needs to be criminalized. Women, men, complicit, the doctors, the staff, the insurance, all of them need to be criminalized for abortion for God's blessing to come upon this nation. And so, 1 million babies a year we're murdering in the womb? No, you can't talk about God's blessing just because we got Trump. It was his mercy, but if we want God's blessing, let's continue to press President Trump and our local elected leaders, even more importantly, our senators, our congressmen and women, to write laws that protect the unborn, that extend life rights to life wherever it's found. We do that. It's not the only issue. It's just the primary issue. We can say, God bless America. Until then, we can't say it. Because whatever issue we've got, there are more issues than just abortion. There are no issues more important. I'll say this very clearly, and then we'll go to the video soon and move on. There are plenty of issues in politics. It's a diverse people, 330 million and counting, last I looked. You're not going to please everybody, sure. You don't have to be a Christian to live here. You don't have to be a theist to live here. Amen. Okay? That is just where we are in time, and I am with that. But you can't murder kids. This is a civic issue no matter who you are or what you believe. So there are other issues. A lot of them. Inflation. Yeah, I go to the store and I kind of don't want the person to tell me the price at the grocery store. I just kind of want to pay and leave and not look at it. I mean, I've walked out of the store with like 6 bags and it was in the $200 range. And I actually caught myself saying, well, that wasn't so bad. Got it. Under the Biden-Harris regime, this country has gone completely wrong, and the voters showed up to say, we've had enough, we've seen you, you're terrible, your policies are terrible, you hate this country, we don't want you, go away. Kamala got spanked, and it is clear that they cheated in the 2020 election with 81 million registered Democrat voters, and now just 60 million, give or take those numbers, and that number being the case for like the last 3 elections. Clearly they cheated. I hope this comes out. I hope it's investigated. And I hope people go to jail for cheating in the 2020 election. But Biden got in there, and now he's gone. And I could not be happier I hope to never see Joe Biden again. If God grants him grace and salvation, I hope to see him again after glorification, and I won't remember who he was in this life, or at least I'll look at it totally differently, and he, me, and we can be brothers. But right now, he's my enemy for the sake of the gospel and of life, and I wish him salvation and peace, as I do Kamala Harris. I'm just really glad soon that they'll be, like, I don't really need to hear them ever speak again. That would be great. Again, unless God grants them salvation, or I get to preach to them, and then I'd be more than happy to hear from them ever. But of course, that's not an option. But politically, I'm just glad they'll be gone. Now, I want to move on to this video. I've said enough just about election in general and some of my thoughts on it. And I want to play this video. It's about, 3 minutes, 34 seconds long. It's released from President Trump. President-elect Trump, number 45, soon to be number 47 president, coming up. So these videos are coming out now, initiatives, things he wants to hit the ground running on when he gets back in. I want to ask you if this is a good thing, Christian. And I'll try to resist pausing it all the time, but I probably won't be able to entirely. Let's play this video and give some thoughts on it. This came out, I saw it for the first time like yesterday. I had to search for it to find it. I think I saw it on X. And thank you to Elon Musk for stepping in. I think he gave $1 billion to this campaign. He swung a lot of things the right direction in this election. So since I know Elon watches all my videos, I wanted to just say thank you because I know you're watching. But let's check this video out here real quick.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children.
Now, I just want to stop. Like I said, I'm going to resist doing this often. But isn't that just refreshing to hear? Christian? Okay? Like for a moment, just try to stick with the video for a moment and what I'm saying. I know there's always more to come into play with the man and his politics, etc. I do want to address very briefly, sorry, I'll come right back to this video. Like all these people that said Trump's a racist and a xenophobe, he won the Islamic vote in America, like in Dearborn, Michigan, and all these states in Minnesota, where Muslims and Jewish leaders voted for him. And he won the black vote. In many ways, young black men. It's the white liberal weirdo women that it's been said. Depending on who you talk to, the Latino vote. Trump won. It's all a lie of the mainstream media, and you should just stop watching CNN. You should stop watching MSNBC, probably Fox News, sadly, but I think they're a little better. You should just stop watching them. They are fake news. They're liars, and they are corrupt, and we should not respect their opinion. Don't watch The View, please. The View, they're all lying. They're all weird. Sin makes you stupid. Don't watch it. But he won in places that all along the Texas border, in these Mexican border towns, just go look it up. He won their vote. Kamala did no better than Joe Biden in a single voting precinct from California to New York from 2020 to today. She's the least popular candidate in the world in history. She was a cackling, confused Marxist that, again, is the best thing that party could present. Just amazing, amazingly sad. But isn't it refreshing, going back to the video, just to hear someone call what he said about it? I'll tell you what, let's just go back again. It's 4 seconds in. Like, isn't this refreshing to hear the man say this? Insanity?
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children.
Child abuse. Now, if you're a Christian, this is a good thing. This is why I just wanted to play this. This is a good thing. And this is the same thing he was saying back in 2016, excuse me, and 2020. These are the same kind of things. When Donald Trump came in and took over, I remember in 2016 being very excited about the next few years in the military, because it affects directly, I got to see it from that perspective, who's in the White House. When Obama was in prior to that and gay marriage became the law of the land and I had to see the impact on my people going further hellward, I got to see it in a way that was different in the military community than civilians will see it. When he came into office, things changed for the better. The transgender insanity, the surgeries, etc., went away. When Biden's butt came into the seat, I had to attend transgender sensitivity training as a chaplain in the U.S. Army. I had to sit there while people tried to inundate me that it's normal for men to wear dresses and for women to pretend that they're men. And everything in between and outside of it. That was under the Biden regime. And now to hear the leader of the country call it what it is, insanity, Christian, you just got to be happy to hear that. Because that's what it is. It's insanity. And it's what Biden and Harris would push with the Equality Act, the so-called Equality Act, over the cliff of insanity. They wanted it. They campaigned on it. Murder your kids, dismember your kids, disfigure your kids. Yay, America. We showed up. Even though the majority of people still aren't affected by the gospel in their vote in the way I want them to be, so that we would pressure Donald Trump and vote for him if he pushed a federal abortion ban at every week. I think if the majority of people wanted that, he'd be behind it 100%. Could be wrong, but he should be. But I think he'd be. So it's not the gospel driving it. Maybe it's just conservative values. And for a little bit, I got to say, okay, not everybody's a Christian, but this is a good thing. And it's a good thing to hear him call these things what they are of the leftists in our culture. These communist weirdo leftists. This is a good thing.
Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately.
When I hear this, I'm just sorry about that warning that pops up. Something's going on with my computer here. It's not low, but the battery keeps saying it's low. It's happening rarely, but more now. Anyway, I'm rejoicing. It's just so good to hear. It really is good to hear. Let's continue.
Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children.
See, you can't just talk about what's wrong in it and let it go at that. You've got to hold people criminally accountable. They've got to be able to be sued. And by the way, that would change so much in politics. If the people writing bad laws could be sued for their effect on it, we'd have better laws and better lawmakers. But to be able to sue doctors that mutilate children, these Joseph Mengele-style transition doctors, they're not doctors. They're evil people that would give gender-affirming care. That's disgusting. It should have no place anywhere in any country on planet Earth. I'm just so happy to hear him saying what he's saying.
The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers, which are in no way licensed or approved for this use.
I just saw a lawsuit coming out of Kansas against Pfizer, and it's part of a 6-state lawsuit, is my understanding. And one state has begun it in Kansas. The Attorney General just announced it, that they're going to sue Pfizer for its misrepresentation of the COVID vaccine. It said it was safe. It said it was needed. It said it could prevent this or that. It was all a lie. They had evidence to the contrary, but Pfizer just released it because they made not just Pfizer, but I'm sure the industry. COVID was more valuable for, building up financial wealth for people than like World War II, than any money you'd make going into the Iraq War. We're talking in the $1 trillion range of profiteering from COVID-19 stupidity and the vaccine stupidity and the fear-mongering and the abuse. So a good thing that is being released and now put before the state Supreme Courts, wherever it goes, looking ahead to Donald Trump. I'm sure it didn't start yesterday, but with him coming in soon, there's a guide, a step in this direction, holding these companies accountable, multi-billion-dollar corporations. It's the whole thing about the food we eat going on right now, which began before this election and the decision of now President-elect Trump. Kellogg's. Why am I've heard Kennedy Jr. saying in a recent interview, why is it I can buy cereal here and it's got like 87 ingredients, don't quote me on that number, and if I buy it in Germany, it's got like 2. Don't quote me on those numbers exactly. They need to stop using these harmful foods so Americans can get healthy again. Because we eat garbage. We eat food like stuff. Great stuff. Looking ahead at what's coming down, things are moving in a good direction.
My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination.
My kids don't go to public school. Sorry if you're in the public school system, or if your kids are. They're not all created equal. I know that. But the federal guide for schools these days does not go in a good direction. This is beautiful. These indoctrinating weirdo teachers that show up with pride flags in their classrooms and confuse 5-year-olds about their gender. There's only 2 genders. They confuse as if there's more. This should be stopped. And do you think it was going to stop under Kamala Harris? She would absolutely make it 100 times worse and call it a virtue. So as a Christian, you got to be rejoicing to see these things. You want to see a couple other things. Amen, me too. But you got to be rejoicing at this.
And the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female.
It's as if there was ever anything different, right? I mean, as if there's ever anything different. There's only 2 genders. We all know it. Even the people pushing against it all know it. But this is a great thing.
And they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
Now, again, absolutely.
The left-wing gender insanity.
I would love to see different going on. Sure. I wish that instead of talking about that, he was saying we're going to put an end to abortion in this country. We're going to convince women that being a mom is not a curse. We're going to come alongside young women who are pregnant when they shouldn't be. They're not married. They're not in a stable relationship. And we're going to offer health care, babysitting if you're in high school, so you can do your degree and your child's watched on campus while you're in school. Things like that. Things we can do to destigmatize the beauty of parenthood, as the left has tried to undo in this country for so long with a obvious small minority. There's not a single blue state, friends, in America. There's not one blue state in this entire country. There are red states. Way to go, Oklahoma. There are belts of all red, meaning Republican. There's not a single blue state in America. There are about 15 to 20 cities trying to tell the rest of us what's right, that are blue, that are left, that are weird, that are pushing evil ideas. And to hear this video from President Trump, is a darn good thing. It was a joke. We've all seen the memes coming out. I thought these were great. I'm just going to share two of them real quick, wrap this up. Some final thoughts here. This one I thought was just hilarious. Breaking: Donald Trump pledges to identify as a woman for one day in January, making him the first female president of the United States. I just think that's great. Because he can identify as a woman. And then the moment he does, we have our first female president. Yay! I think that's hilarious. This one, how about this one from the Babylon Bee? America unburdens itself from what has been. Yep, bye-bye, Kamala. Hope to never see you again unless you are brought into the Christian faith. And then I'd love to see you again. Or maybe to be a part of that in your life. You know that line. We can look to what can be, unburdened by what has been. We've officially unburdened ourselves from you. Bye. I think that's a glorious thing. So this is a big deal. And I want to finish with just a thought or two, Christian, how politics does affect our lives, how we need to be talking about it openly. Not naively. You could accuse me of being naive in politics. I got it. When I listen to people that say they know a lot more about it, I can point to many things that I would say I could articulate that. I agree with that. I'm a values voter. And that could make me subject to gaslighting. Donald Trump stand up and appeal to family values, and I go, yeah, got it. So I got to look at the track record and the position and the things that he's done, not just the words, but the actions. Now, the thing is, when I do that to his 4 years in office, no, he didn't drain the swamp. He didn't reduce the national deficit. He didn't secure the southern border. Things that he said he'd do, he didn't do. The things that he did do, appointment of hundreds of judges in all the district courts, again, Supreme Court appointments I mentioned already, the March, being the first pro-life president at the March for Life in the history of the movement, that speaks louder than words. That wherever he's coming from, in having and doing those things according to those values, I want more of that. That video I just shared with you, you can find it online if you looked up like Trump anti-transgender. If you did a search for that on DuckDuckGo or whatnot, you would find that video, and I'll put a link to it in the description here so you can have it. It's a good thing, guys. It's a good thing. The impact of that on schools, we get DeSantis Vance in 2028 and advance beyond 2028. I'll be getting near 50 years old. How great could this be? So let's not rest. Let's be at work. If we did not vote in Donald Trump, here's one sure thing that would have happened in our culture. And if you say as a Christian wrongly, well, I just don't get involved in politics. It's not my deal. It's not my bag. And I understand that. I'm not a political guy. This is the only video I've made on politics. Probably, I don't know if there's ever been another video specifically on the subject that I've ever done. I really don't think there has been. Getting close to the election, I'm liking things, I'm sharing things, I'm giving comments on things on X and, wherever, Facebook or wherever I, do the Biblicea thing. But I'm not a political guy. I want to become more of a political guy. I want to talk about it more. And here's how it affects you. So you can say, it's not my bag, and I got it. God, different organs in the body. We do different things. We don't all have the same function. And I'm not called to politics and specific political area. I'm a Bible expositor. It's what I want to do, is teach and preach scripture. But that's going to bring me into the political sphere on transgenderism, homosexuality, abortion, immigration, and abuse. It's going to bring me in when it comes to taxation and inflation, interest rates on my home that were 7.6% offered to me when I bought this home last year. Okay, it's going to affect me, my family, my food on the table, everything. It's going to impact. I can't say it doesn't. And one sure thing that would have happened is the Equality Act. I think that's sure. If Biden-Harris regime could have gotten that, and then Tim Walz, another clearly just wicked man. Weird, wicked, the abortion thing. I mean, that's why I say that. The LGBT, PPFBQAI thing, wow, out there. Just, they would have made a great couple. Harris and Waltz, I guess. One thing that would have happened was the Equality Act. Certainly Biden wanted it. I don't think he could get it through. I don't think he can get the support in Congress. But let's say these guys could have pushed it through in whatever way presidents can do that in the executive branch. My church could face discrimination policy infractions for not performing gay marriage, quote unquote, gay marriages. Now, the church that I'm in which I'm on staff, would not do that. We would not do a homosexual marriage. We wouldn't even entertain it for a moment. We only do Christian marriages. We only do God-honoring marriages. And so since a gay marriage is neither of those things, we would never do it. But by law, if it is federally mandated, as has already been written into civil rights protections, things like sexual identity and genetics is the language, and that means if you pretend you're of the opposite gender, you can't be discriminated against. That's already written into equal opportunity DEI language across the federal government. And it's led to horribly unqualified people, evil people, being elected in office. Trump will get rid of them, and that's a good thing. I would love to see Levine fired preemptively today. That dude that goes by a woman's name that shouldn't, that's in the White House, let's get rid of that guy. Karine Jean-Pierre, the lesbian, White House correspondent lady, I can't stand to hear her talk. I'm so happy she will be unemployed soon. These people need to go, and it's a great thing. But what happens when they come to my church and say, the president has said it has been in place that you, excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. Seems like everybody is every week these days. That you have to perform a homosexual marriage because it's discrimination if you don't. If you don't vote for the right people and that happens, you can't complain. Well, you can, but you could have done something about it before. And that's just one example of how politics affects us. If the president and the Supreme Court, and this is the fight, I'll finish with this. This is the fight. If the Supreme Court would do the right thing and simply extend the protections that our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, our way of life affords to every, I don't know why it's doing that, to every human being, including those who are pre-born, then everything changes. And you don't think that's going to affect our people for the good? If it does, if you don't think that it would, can I challenge you to consider how your faith is not informing your politics on this very well? That if we as a people said, we're not going to murder the unborn, period, that would be a good thing, a good Christian thing. That I could even say, if you're of another religion or no religion at all, and you agree with me, you're on the right side of this, and I'm glad to partner with you in putting an end to it. In other words, this is a civic duty, a responsibility. I should be able to call the police if somebody's about to commit an abortion, and they should come in with the bang sticks and the tear gas and take them all to prison. That would be the just, glorious, God-honoring, nation-exalting thing to do. And I don't know how we get there, but I know we got 4 years more in the mercy of God to move in that direction. And I hope that we do. I hope that good leaders are appointed and that we move to criminalizing abortion. And along with that, even though that's, I would say, my chief priority, 65 million people dead, I'm sorry, I can't worry about X number of million immigrants more. I can't. I can't prioritize one over the other. It seems Donald Trump will. But the majority of people, and the ones that I want to speak to here, that are the voting base, should demand better things. And I think if we did, we'd get a better result from this president. I think if we did, enough people made it clear that the congressmen we vote for, the senators we vote for, who do the actual law writing, not the president, but those folks, we're going to demand they extend the protections of life to the unborn, to the preborn, to babies in the womb. At every week, we'd get better from him. I think we'd get better results, and not the soft, 15 weeks. If you're this tall or taller, you get to ride the ride. If you're this tall or shorter, you get off the ride of life. We're going to take your life. It's okay. It's not okay. But it's a hard fight to fight because our enemies are ladies, girls. I know, it's very hard. So I hope to release this, share this video just to say that I'm happy about what I've seen. I am very happy that Kamala Harris will not be president. She didn't deserve it. She was unfit for it, ethically, professionally, in every way. I'm very glad about that. Is there a better candidate that ran? There's not. Not that I'm aware of, right? And so I'm rejoicing. I hope you are too. And I hope that the next 4 years will show great progress where it matters most and progress in every measurable area. We need to be talking about politics. We need to be looking at these things. And not just presidential politics, but local. Here in Florida, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Amendment 4, which was the abortion amendment in Florida, did not pass. But it didn't pass by way too close a margin. That means the majority of people did vote against it, but like barely as many as needed to. So in other words, it needed more support to pass. It didn't get it, but it got close. That means half the people around me are deranged serial killers. They want to see preborn kids increasingly executed. And again, I don't get the whole up till the time of birth and you're shocked, but you'd be okay with it at 4 weeks. What's the difference? I don't make a distinction, but a lot of people do. And I guess it is sort of more of a, really? You got the belly and you got the feet and the kick and you'd still, and then the versus the, I just found out I'm pregnant, didn't plan on it kind of thing. I got it, but it's still wrong in any week of a human's life. Amendment 4 didn't pass. In other states, these amendments are passing. Happened in Ohio. It's happening in other places. The good effect of the Dobbs decision under Trump, his Supreme Court appointment, returning the decisions to the states, you're going to have this. And that means it can be changed, again, in the states easier than it could be at the federal level. So anyway, this applies. This is our life. This is you and me in the church, on our way to Walmart, on our way to Panera Bread, on our way to our kids' school, on our way to church, on our way to work. Right around us. It's right there. You can't separate it. You can't ignore it. And so, again, I hope some of this reflection was helpful, that you enjoyed that video. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I pray for you. If you don't think those are good things to shut down the transgender, leftist agenda, etc., thank you for watching this. I do want to make one announcement here that I told some folks I was going to do on the video here recently, that I would do it. I am announcing that I would love to find 2 more like-minded men to join me in Biblicia.com. That I would love to meet 2 other men who are educated, biblically, Baptist and Reformed, preferably, men of conviction who want to join me in creating something new through Biblicia.com. And I want to ask you, if you know someone, if you're watching this, and if you know someone in the Tampa, Florida area, you have to be local. We have to be able to physically get together. I don't want to do it over video. It has to be local in the Central Florida area, somewhere around the Tampa area, where we can join forces and start doing more video. I'd love to present more political video. I'd love to look at sermons from great preachers or not great preachers and analyze them. I'd love to talk about books and lessons and things and do exposition of the scripture together and debate the issues and do systematic theology, do charity work, bring blessings financially to the poor together and stir up believers to do that in their lives. Bring people on that are guests to talk about interesting issues and things that they're doing and raise financial support for initiatives around the world or local through this platform, this internet world and platform that God has given us. And I want to get to know you. If you know someone there, reach out to me on biblicia.com. There's a contact page right on the website. If you go to Biblicia, Bible, right, where's it at? Right there in the corner. Go there, biblicia.com, if you're listening to this on audio, and reach out to me. This guy's in the area. He loves talking theology. Folks, I think we can find the investors, and I think we can find the marketing, and I think we can make this thing something great, something greater. And God has already made it great and wonderful and used this ministry through the guests that I've had on, through the videos put out on YouTube, on Rumble, a little bit on Rumble, a little more on YouTube, mostly through the site. God has used it since 2006. But I'm looking ahead to other things that I'd love to do. I'm praying about it. I'm looking into it. And to find those other like-minded men, at least two, no more than one or two, I want to find them. I'm looking. I'm new to the area that I'm in. I've only been here about a year and a half, and I'm looking now and praying about this now in new ways. So if that's you, if you know someone, would you send them my way? Let's talk. Maybe we can make it work. Other than that, grateful. We've come through the hurricanes here, plural. I know there's another one brewing out there, moving not directly over my area. Raphael, I think, is that thing's given name. Apparently we've assigned it a gender. Terrible. But we've been fortunate. God has been merciful. He sends the storm, but he didn't send them right over us. I got to help some people take down some trees. I got to help my father-in-law take down some trees that fell on his property. Our home, no damage, just some twigs had to rake up. No flooding in this area. And I know a lot of people did suffer here. But we came through well, my family and I. There hadn't been a hurricane come through the Tampa area in like 100 years. And then I moved here a year and a half ago, and I'm like, oh, great. Talked to another guy that was doing a haircut for me. He had moved here like a month before the storm. Same deal. Never had a hurricane in 100 years come through this area. And that's true. A major hurricane over this area has been like 100 years. He had just moved there like a month before. It's like, thanks, buddy, bringing the storm, right? So grateful we've come through those. I'm working on my PhD with Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary, learning a ton, enjoying that very much, and going through that. I'll be doing that for the next 2 to 3 years at least, doing Bible exposition PhD, learning a lot. And I got a project I'm working on right now on the ordinances. Just put out a video about that within the last month or so. The gracious ordinances of baptism and the Lord's table. And go check that out anytime. But working on some things and hoping to develop some new projects and new things here in the not too distant future. But I'm going to wrap it up here. We're at about 50 minutes right now, a little bit less. And I hope that this has been informative to you and enjoyable and a blessing. As you see, and I share just a little bit of some good things ahead, it looks like, with Trump as our 47th president of the United States. Good thing, I think, is a good thing. And I hope that you do too. But until next time, God bless.